I ended up in the hospital after a work accident my brother caused. My family laughed, ditched me, and even tried suing me when I finally cut them off. What they didn't know was that I had leverage they'd never recover from. Hey Reddit, so here's what happened. A while back, I, 29M, got hurt working in my family's business. And the way they handled it completely opened my eyes to how things really worked in my family. I'd been the one holding everything together for years. Money, work, whatever needed to get done. But the second I needed them, they were gone. What followed was probably the wildest few months of my life. And honestly, I still don't know if it was karma, justice, or just long overdue. If there's one thing you need to know about my family, it's this. Responsibility always landed on me. Bills late? I paid them. Dad's business falling apart? Guess who kept the lights on? Everyone else floated through life like it was a vacation package. Meanwhile, I was the one keeping the ship from sinking. And stupid me, I thought that made us a team. Turns out I was just the designated adult in a family full of kids who never grew up. So one night I was working a late shift. Just me and a couple guys finishing up some framing at a site. Because deadlines don't magically move just because my family feels like taking weekends off. I was up on a temporary platform. Not super high, but high enough that if it failed, it was going to ruin my night. Earlier that day, I told my brother Lucas, make sure this is locked in and sturdy. He nodded, gave me that fake confident, yeah bro, I got it tone. You know the one that tells you he probably didn't do it, but you want to believe maybe, just once. He actually handled it. Yeah, big mistake. I climbed up, put my weight on it, started lining up a measurement, and the next thing I knew, the floor just gave up on me. The whole thing shifted, one side dropped, and my body followed gravity like a loyal dog. I landed hard. Heard the crack before I even felt it. A couple ribs gone, wrists screaming, shoulder split open enough that I'd need stitches. For the record, 0 out of 10 experience. The guys on site freaked, called 911, and I just laid there thinking, cool, so this is how it goes. I had asked Lucas to secure one thing. One thing. Paramedics showed up, cut off my work jacket, strapped me in, and I was out of it. They asked if I had family to call. I gave them the list. Same numbers I've had down for years. Mom, Dad, Lucas, my sisters. They said they'd pass my contacts to the ER desk so the hospital could make the calls. In my head, I was thinking, all right, maybe by the time I wake up, someone will be waiting in the hospital room. Yeah, no. I woke up hours later. Nurse came in, I asked if anyone showed. She checked the chart, shook her head, said they'd called all the contacts, left messages, but nope. Empty room. Just me and the machines beeping. And honestly, I'd love to say I was shocked, but deep down I wasn't. My family has this thing where they treat responsibility like a hot potato. If it takes effort, it ends up in my hands. Money, time, work, doesn't matter. Still, lying there, I tried to give them excuses. Maybe they were on their way. Maybe traffic. Maybe something came up. Then my phone buzzed. Not a call. Not a you okay? Text Instagram notification. I open it up and what do I see? Lucas and my sisters crammed into an SUV with energy drinks like they're road tripping to paradise. Caption. Lake House Rental Week. Let's go. Posted less than 5 hours after I hit the ground. That's when it clicked. They weren't coming. They got the call. They knew. And they left anyway. Packed up their bags, took off for a weekend getaway, and decided my busted ribs weren't worth putting their little vacation on hold. I just stared at that picture, my phone shaking in my good hand. The comments underneath were people hyping them up, squad goals, jealous, y'all live the life. Meanwhile, I'm taped up like a broken action figure wondering why the hell I ever thought we were a team, and Lucas, the guy who forgot to secure the platform, had the nerve to drop a laughing emoji under one of the replies like nothing happened. No text, no call, not even a lazy, hope you're okay. Just a vacation post while I was lying there with half my body screaming every time I tried to breathe. That was the moment something in me just shut off. Not in a dramatic rage switch way, more like when you stretch a rope too far and it finally snaps. Quiet, final. I realized I wasn't family to them. I was the guy who paid for the stuff they couldn't, the guy who handled the bills, the fixer, the safety net, the one who bailed them out of bad credit, late rent, and emergencies that always seemed to pop up right before a trip. That was my role. Not brother, not son, just a walking ATM with free labor on the side. And here's the part that actually made me laugh. even with busted ribs. I asked Lucas to secure a platform. He said he did, and then he left me broken on the ground so he could go party at a lake house. If that doesn't sum up my family dynamic in one scene, I don't know what does. By the time the nurse came back around to check my vitals, I had already decided I wasn't warning them. No explanations, no heads-ups. Not now, not later. Let them have their little lake house fun. Let them think I'd come crawling back like always. They'd get their wake-up call soon enough. That night, lying there alone in that hospital bed, I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I just felt done. The pain was still real, though. Breathing felt like having bricks stacked on my chest. Every time I shifted, my ribs reminded me who was in charge. My wrist was wrapped like a burrito, arm stitched and bandaged, IV dripping away. My phone sat on the little hospital table, screen dark. No texts, no calls. Just me and the buzzing fluorescent lights. The first ping came the next morning. I figured, finally, one of them came around. Nope. It was Grandpa. The old man's pushing 80, half deaf, still sharper than anyone else in the family. "Heard what happened," he said. "How are you holding up?" He didn't ask about bills or when I'd be back at work or if I could loan him anything. Just wanted to know if I was alive. He even cracked a joke. "Guess now you'll finally sit still for once." I laughed, but it hurt too much to keep going. That night, he called again. Same the night after. Every single evening, Grandpa checked in, asked about the pain, asked if I needed him to drive over. I told him no. What was he going to do? Lift me out of bed? But the fact that he even offered meant more than anything. Then my aunt called. She's the only one in the family who's ever actually worked for her own money. She asked if I needed her to come down and sit with me. I said no, but she still sent me this giant package of snacks because she knows hospital food tastes like cardboard dipped in sadness. She had already done 10x more for me than my parents or siblings, and she doesn't even owe me anything. The wildest part? A coworker, Brian, the guy I usually just nod at during meetings, sent me a text. "Heard you're in the hospital. Want me to have food dropped off?" No questions. Just say yes. I barely talked to the guy outside work. But there he was, offering to help. Meanwhile, my own brother was probably shotgunning energy drinks at the lake house. By the second day, I stopped expecting a call from my family. My phone battery dipped under 20% from me checking it too much, thinking maybe they'd surprise me. Spoiler, they didn't. But I did get a surprise. I opened Instagram again. Yeah, I know, I should have learned my lesson, but curiosity hit, scrolled through stories. There it was, a clip of them in the car on the way to the lake house. Lucas recording everyone laughing. Maggie in the back seat saying, "Well, he's in the hospital. What are we gonna do, sit around and cry?" Then Taylor laughed so hard she almost spilled her drink. I replayed that clip 3 times. Not because I couldn't believe it, but because it was so on brand for them. It was almost funny, almost. That wasn't neglect. That wasn't them being busy. That was them knowing I was lying in a hospital bed and turning it into a punchline. They didn't just ignore me. They mocked it. And that's when my brain switched from hurt to calculation. I grabbed the little notepad from the bedside table and started writing. Not some dramatic revenge manifesto, just numbers. Left column, every single bill I covered for them. Mom's medication refill. Dad's half of the mortgage. Maggie's grad school loan. Taylor's car lease. Lucas's temporary credit card debt payments. By the time I was done scribbling, it added up to about $2,180 every single month. Nearly $3,000 bleeding out of my account so they could keep coasting. And that wasn't even counting the one-time emergencies. Right column, names of people who actually checked in. Grandpa, Aunt, Brian. That was it. 3 people. None of them lived under the same roof I grew up in. None of them were the ones draining me. I stared at that paper and it hit me. I wasn't family to them. I was infrastructure. Like Wi-Fi or electricity. You don't think it. You just expect it to be there until suddenly it isn't. And the second I needed them? Dead silence. Well, not silence. Laughter. And weirdly, I felt calm. The pain in my ribs was still there, but the weight I'd been carrying for years just lifted. They thought I was too scared to cut them off. They thought I needed to be the fixer. They thought wrong. When I got out of that hospital, things were going to change. not with some dramatic shouting match. That's not my style. I'd make changes the way I handled business, quiet, precise, effective. Because if they could laugh at me while I was lying in a hospital bed, I could sure as hell laugh at them when their bills started bouncing. I got discharged the next morning. My apartment felt different when I stepped inside. Quiet, clean, everything exactly where I left it. I dropped onto the couch, hospital wristband still on, and realized for the first time in years, I was in a place that didn't need me to fix something. That night, I pulled out my laptop and started making moves. Not dramatic, not emotional, just practical first stop online banking, mom's medication auto refill, canceled. Dad's half of the mortgage, gone. Maggie's grad school loan payment, deleted. Autopay on Taylor's car lease, canceled. Lucas's temporary credit card debt, nice try, removed. It felt like cleaning out a junk closet, pulling out one thing after another that I should never have been holding on to in the first place. By the time I closed the browser, their entire safety net was gone. No warnings, no texts, no big speech, just silence. Let them figure it out, and it didn't take long. Next morning, my phone buzzed. Taylor. Hey, my car payment bounced. Can you check if there's a mistake? She even attached a screenshot of her overdue notice like I was her personal IT department. I left it on read. An hour later, Maggie emailed, not texted, asking if I could please reinstate her loan payment just for this month. I closed the email without replying. That afternoon, Lucas slid into my messages. Yo, bro, you probably missed the Venmo request. Lake House went over budget. Everyone's chipping in. Send when you can. Nothing says family love like hitting your brother with a laughing emoji while he's still limping from an injury you caused. Left that one on read, too. By dinner, I had 10 missed calls. Mom, Dad, Maggie, Taylor, even Lucas, who normally avoids responsibility like it's cardio. My voicemail filled up quick. Mom first. We don't know what's going on, but this isn't how families treat each other. No mention of the accident. No mention of the hospital. Just guilt. Dad was next. Mortgage didn't go through. If something's changed, you should have been man enough to say so. Man enough? From the guy who had me covering his bills for years? Sure, Taylor's message was calmer. Too calm, like she'd rehearsed it. We're all stressed right now. Just call us. We'll figure it out. Like always. Like always. Translation. I fix everything. They pretend we fixed it together. By the end of the night, I was almost entertained. Less than 24 hours without me holding things together, and the cracks were already showing. Day 2. Things escalated. Maggie texted me screenshots of overdue notices with captions like, "This can't be right." Taylor followed with another voicemail. She couldn't get to class without her car. Lucas tried casual again. "Hey man, can you spot me 150 until Friday? Just a quick favor." Ignored. Mom sent a wall of text, paragraphs long. "I don't know why you're punishing us. This isn't what family does. We've always been there for each other." Always been there. Yeah, unless I'm the one bleeding in a hospital bed. The more their calls stacked up, the calmer I felt. Years of them leaning on me. And now I was watching them scramble like kids who just realized Santa's not real. By the end of the week, the fallout was undeniable. Taylor's car got flagged. Maggie even had one of her classmates message me, trying to convince me I was hurting everyone. Outsourcing manipulation. Brilliant. Meanwhile, Grandpa called every night like clockwork. Not to guilt me, not to ask for money, just to ask how the ribs were healing. Aunt sent another package, this time with frozen meals. Brian, the coworker, had Uber Eats drop dinner at my door with a simple, "Rest up" message. The contrast was ridiculous. The people who weren't bleeding me dry were the ones who actually cared. I stopped counting the missed calls. They weren't slowing down. They were multiplying. Mom, Dad, my sisters. Random numbers I didn't recognize, probably friends of theirs trying to tag in for backup. It was like watching a team run plays from a playbook I'd already memorized, but I didn't bite. Not once, because here's the thing. It wasn't me who broke the family. They did that when they left me to rot in the hospital while they went off to party at a lake house. All I did was stop paying the entry fee to their fantasy, watching them scramble without me, Funniest thing I'd seen in years. But I wasn't done. Cutting their bills was just round one. They thought that was bad. Wait until they realized what I'd actually been holding together for the past 5 years. See, our family has this remodeling company. Technically, it's Dad's business. In reality, it's my business. Back when Dad needed a loan and couldn't get approved, we signed papers. Guess whose name ended up on the LLC? Mine. They never read the fine print. They just assumed I'd keep things running. Spoiler, they assumed wrong. For years, I'd been the ghost in the machine, keeping the books clean, negotiating contracts, renewing licenses, dealing with suppliers. My parents and siblings, they did the photo ops, smiled for clients, bragged at family dinners, pretended they were entrepreneurs. Truth, without me, the whole operation was one bad invoice away from collapse. So one quiet afternoon, I sat down at my laptop and logged in. First thing, revoked their admin access, every single one of them. Then I froze outgoing payments, paused accounts payable, updated the website with a banner. Operations temporarily paused under restructure. Not loud, not dramatic, surgical. Next, I drafted emails to our core suppliers. Professional, clean. Since I'm the sole member on the LLC paperwork and the only authorized signer on vendor accounts, they already knew who the real point of contact was. Please direct all questions to me. Signed it formally, just to make it sting. The fallout came quick. Next morning, 7 missed calls from Dad. Voicemails were a roller coaster. First calm, professional. Hey, there seems to be an issue with the accounts. Just call me back. We'll sort it out. Second, irritated. Clients are here and no one can access files. Fix this immediately. By the 7th, he was practically begging. This isn't like you. Don't do this to the family, because me breaking ribs alone in a hospital while they partied at a lake house, that was totally in character. Suppliers even forwarded me Dad's messages. Some thought it was funny. One sent me a screenshot of Dad threatening legal action if they didn't release materials. They laughed. They knew who the authority was. Lucas, of course. Handled it like a 12-year-old. Posted a photo of the company van outside the house with the caption, "When you give your life to something and get stabbed in the back." Buddy, the only thing Lucas had ever given his life to was Monster Energy and Xbox Live. Then Aunt texted me, "Got something you might want." She'd screen recorded that Instagram story before it got deleted. The one where Maggie joked, "Well, he's in the hospital. What are we going to do? Sit around and cry?" Followed by laughter. I'd seen it live. But having it saved? That was different. Proof. Receipts. If they tried to spin it, I had evidence. That was the nail in the coffin. Any part of me that thought we'd work it out? Gone, so I went deeper. Filed paperwork to move the company's official address. Paid out every dime already. Earned, froze payroll. No one got paid unless I said so. Then I scheduled a meeting. With the crew I actually trusted. The guys who showed up rain or shine even. When my family couldn't be bothered. Offered. Them contracts better than the family ever gave. Told them straight up, "Business keeps going, but it's ours now. You in?" Every single one said yes. By week 2, the panic was unbearable. Dad left a voicemail, voice cracking. "You don't understand what you're doing. This is bigger than you. The whole family depends on this." Yeah, I understood perfectly. That was the problem. Mom tried the soft approach. "Please, whatever this is, don't destroy what your father built." What he built? Funny. If Dad built it, why couldn't he even log in without calling me? Taylor sent me a voice message. "I know things are stressful, but you know we love you. We'll apologize if that's what you need." Like it was optional, Lucas kept firing texts. "You're overreacting. You're going to burn the family down over one bad weekend." One bad weekend. My ribs disagreed. I didn't reply. Didn't need to. The truth was finally clear. Not just to me, but to everyone. Contractors, suppliers, extended family. Everyone saw it. My parents and siblings weren't leaders. They weren't even partners. They were dead weight. And for the first time, I wasn't dragging them anymore. I knew they'd panic without me paying bills, but I didn't expect courtroom drama. Turns out, when you take away their free ride, their next genius idea is to sue the driver. It started with Taylor. She showed up at my apartment lobby unannounced, hammering the buzzer like a cop. I watched her on the security cam, arms crossed, waving papers like she'd cracked a case. I didn't let her in, but a neighbor did. Big mistake. 2 minutes later, she was banging on my door. You can't just cut us off. This is financial abuse. Financial abuse? From the same sister who forgot her car payments ran through my card. She slid the papers under the door. Small claims court. She'd filed saying I promised to keep paying her lease, her evidence, a text from 2 years ago where I said, I'll cover this until you're stable. 2 years later, still stabilizing. I laughed so hard my ribs hurt. I saved the papers. Didn't open the door and let her storm off after calling me selfish, loud enough for the hallway to hear. Next day, Dad left a voicemail. Your actions have legal consequences. If you think you can just take the company and leave your family, you're mistaken. Said it like a movie line. Reality. He didn't even know the LLC had been in my name for 5 years. I played it back twice just for laughs. 2 days later, a letter from a law office showed up, or at least looked like one. Cheap template letterhead claiming wrongful takeover of the family business. I Googled the firm. Didn't exist. Lucas probably made it in Canva thinking I'd fold. Then Maggie tried. She emailed me with urgent legal notice in the subject. Said she'd spoken to a friend in law school who told her I could be charged with financial neglect of dependents. Dependents? She's 26, I replied once just to amuse myself. If you're my dependent, where's my Father's Day card? No response. Funniest attempt came from Lucas. He tried, tagging me on Facebook with a long rant about how brothers are supposed to share assets equally and how you can't just kick people out of a family business. He finished it with, this will hold up in court. The comment section was brutal. Contractors I'd worked with piled in, clowning him. One guy wrote, of what? Fortnite? Another said, pretty sure you gotta work to be in a business. Champ. Lucas untagged me and deleted the post within the hour. Meanwhile, I kept everything documented. Every text, every voicemail, every fake letter. I had a neat little folder labeled Clown Show Legal on my desktop. If they ever actually tried anything real, I'd bury them with receipts. Aunt called me one night, half laughing, half annoyed. They're telling everyone you stole the company, she said, like they forgot who was doing the actual work all these years. Grandpa got on the line too, and for the first time, I heard anger in his voice. Pathetic, he muttered. Entitlement dressed as victimhood. Then he said something that stuck with me. Don't worry. I've already started talking to my lawyer about my will. I'm not leaving money for lawsuits. I'm leaving it where it builds something. I didn't need to ask what he meant. And the best part? Their legal threats backfired almost immediately. Taylor's claim got tossed before it even made it to a hearing. The judge told her straight up in plain English, he's not your guarantor. He's your brother. Maggie's whole dependent theory? Her own law school friend admitted she had misunderstood the law. Lucas's fake lawyer letter? Aunt roasted him in the family chat, asking when Canva law offices opened up for business. By the end of the week, they had gone from wannabe plaintiffs to full-on clowns. Mom tried damage control. Texting me, we should have handled this privately. You didn't need to embarrass your siblings. Embarrass them? Please. They did that all by themselves. Meanwhile, the business kept running. The crew I'd brought in had signed their contracts. Suppliers were happy. Clients were paying on time. And for the first time in years, my bank account actually looked like mine, not some shared family slush fund. The contrast was insane. My family was drowning in overdraft fees and empty legal threats. I was sitting at home, ribs taped, smiling, eating takeout, watching Netflix, on an account I actually paid for myself. That was the difference. They needed me. I didn't need them, and the more they pushed, fake lawsuits, delusional claims, the clearer it became to everyone. I was the only adult in the room, but adults don't just sit there and laugh. Adults use leverage, and I had plenty. They wanted legal action? Fine. Let's talk real legal action. I pulled out a thick envelope, hospital records and the site file. ER intake notes, preliminary incident report, all of it. It was neat and tidy, cracked ribs, fractured wrist, 20 stitches. 'Cause noted as platform unsecured despite warning. My own statement, recorded in the ER and backed by the site report. That last part? The nail in Lucas's coffin. It spelled out negligence in black and white. I hadn't kept it quiet out of fear. I kept it quiet because timing matters. And now? The timing was perfect. Sure enough, they tried to corner me again. This time all four of them, Mom, Dad, Maggie, Taylor. Standing in my apartment lobby like they were staging some kind of family intervention. Lucas didn't even bother showing up, which was hilarious considering he's the one who put me in the hospital. I went downstairs, ribs still taped, wrists still in a brace, smiling like I had been waiting for this moment. Mom went first, her voice sweet enough to rot teeth. We need to move past this. Families fight, but they forgive. We can't keep tearing ourselves apart. I didn't even answer. I just slid the injury report across the lobby table like I was dealing cards. This, I said, tapping it, is the difference between your Canva law nonsense and actual paperwork. See where it says negligence? See where it says permanent injury? That's real. If I wanted to, I could sue for damages and take every dime you have. House, cars, savings, gone before the first hearing was done. Silence. Maggie's face went pale, probably remembering mocking me in the car while Lucas filmed. Taylor stared at the paper like it was written in another language. Dad crossed his arms, still trying to play the tough guy, but I could see his eyes flicking to the signature line. Son, he finally said, voice low. We don't need to escalate this, I smirked. Escalate? Dad, I'm not escalating. I'm showing you how lucky you are I didn't. That one landed. He shut up. Maggie tried to recover. We didn't mean harm. It was just bad timing. You know how people get when they're stressed. Yeah, I said, leaning back. Some people get stressed and laugh about their brother being in the hospital. I get stressed and restructure companies. Guess which one looks better on paper? Mom tried again, another angle. You can't just erase us from the business. That's not what family does. Funny you say that, I said, tapping the report again. Because leaving someone bleeding on the road to go party at a lake house? Pretty sure that's not what family does either. Taylor finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. So what now? Now, I said. Now I run the company, alone, you get nothing. You contribute nothing. You want to complain? Take me to Canva court again. Maybe the jury of Instagram followers will side with you. They just stood there, stunned, mouths open, no words. I picked up the report, slid it back into the folder, and walked right past them without saying another thing. That night, my aunt called. She'd already heard the whole story. My family couldn't resist painting themselves as victims to anyone who would listen. She told me she was proud of me for standing my ground. Then she said, "Your grandfather wants to talk to you." Grandpa's voice came on the line, calm but sharper than I'd ever heard it. "I've watched this long enough," he said. "They've taken you for granted your whole life. I can't sit by and reward that." "What do you mean?" I asked, though I already had a good guess. "I met with my lawyer today," he said. "Their shares of the estate? Gone. That money is going into your business. You've built something real. They've built nothing but excuses." I sat in silence for a second, not because I doubted him, but because it was the first time someone in my family had actually drawn a hard line besides me. "Grandpa." "They're going to lose their minds," I finally said. "Let them," he replied. "They've been living off borrowed time and borrowed money. It's about time they learned what reality looks like." I grinned. Guess I wasn't the only adult in the room after all. At first, I thought maybe he was just blowing off steam. But nope. A week later, the fallout rolled in like clockwork. Lucas went first, posting some dramatic rant online about how some people stab their family in the back for money and that grandparents can be manipulated too. He filmed it sitting in his beat-up sedan, probably on break from the warehouse job he'd finally gotten. He tried to sound tough, but the comment section was brutal. Even his friends didn't buy it. "Bro, you were living on his credit card." "Calm down." Another. "Didn't you laugh when he was in the hospital?" Lucas deleted the post within hours, but not before screenshots made the rounds in the extended family chat. Maggie tried a different approach. She sent me a long email calling Grandpa's decision disproportionate punishment for what she called one mistake. One mistake. Like mocking your brother while he's bleeding out is the same as forgetting to do the dishes. She even framed herself as the victim, talking about how her academic career was in jeopardy because of decisions out of her control. I didn't even bother replying. Last time I checked, grad school didn't require mooching off your brother's bank account. Taylor went straight for the guilt trip. She called Grandpa, begged him to reconsider. When that failed, she left me a voicemail sobbing about how she was left with nothing and had no options. Which was hilarious, because she still had Mom and Dad's house to move back into. Left with nothing just meant she lost her free car and the auto payments I used to cover. Welcome to adulthood, sis. Mom and Dad, though. They were the loudest. They called everyone they could think of. Cousins, neighbors, even Grandpa's old church friends, telling anyone who would listen that I had stolen the company and manipulated an old man into changing his will. But no one believed them. Everyone knew who actually kept the business running. Contractors backed me up. Suppliers backed me up. Even my aunt publicly shut Mom down in a group chat by posting Maggie's lake house joke video. That was the end of their smear campaign. It collapsed under its own weight. Meanwhile, I was busy building something real. Grandpa's investment hit my account, and for the first time, I wasn't juggling 20 balls with one hand. I hired more guys, upgraded equipment, gave raises to the crew that had stuck with me. The company got smaller, leaner, but better. No freeloaders, no fake partners. Just people who worked. Clients noticed the difference immediately. Jobs got done faster, cleaner, with fewer mistakes. Every day, I got stronger. And every day, they got weaker. Lucas dragged himself through night shifts, saying it was temporary. Maggie dropped out of grad school and posted something vague about taking a mental health break. Taylor sold her car and moved back home, pretending it was just for a few months, but everyone knew she wasn't leaving. And my parents? They just sat in that house stewing, probably waiting for someone else to bail them out. Grandpa called me again not long after. "They're furious," he said, almost laughing. "You should have heard your dad. Said I was tearing the family apart. I told him he should have thought about that before leaving his son in a hospital bed." For the first time in years, I felt like someone in the family actually understood, not just understood, took my side. One Sunday night, Mom texted me again. "Family dinners don't feel the same without you. Can't you drop by just once?" I stared at it for a long time, not because I was tempted, but because I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just nothing. Like she was texting a stranger who used to live in the same house. Instead of replying, I booked a trip. Oregon. Rented a little cabin in the woods, surrounded by trees and fog. No calls, no Venmo request. No fake emergencies. Just me. For the first time in my life, I woke up without feeling like I owed anyone anything. No bills. No guilt trips. No obligations. Just peace. I still talk to Grandpa. Still visit Aunt now and then. They never bring up the split. They don't have to. They saw it happen the same way I did, piece by piece, year by year. Grandpa still calls me the only one who earned it. Aunt jokes that my siblings should have sued me for loss of free babysitting. They get it. They've always gotten it. And the rest? They've got their lives, and if you can even call it that. A warehouse job. A dropped degree. A repossessed car. A mortgage they can't afford. All of it built on the same thing it was always built on. Me. The only difference now? I'm not holding it up anymore. People love to say family is everything, but they never tell you family can also be dead weight, and if you don't cut it loose, it'll drag you straight to the bottom. I had to break bones to see it.